the one advantage you have that is so valuable that money cannot buy it. And that's your age. It's your youth. It's the fact that you have decades ahead of you. You have a lifetime ahead of you. The world is your oyster and you can create whatever it is that you want. You're gonna have to make some important decisions in your life, and those decisions will shape your life. They will shape the trajectory that you are going on. You can create anything that you want to create in your life, especially because you're young, especially because you have time. You have time to learn. There's not anything in this world that you can't learn how to do. So saying I don't know how to do that is the biggest bullshit excuse I've ever heard in my life. And if you hate your job, if you hate your career, that's 1/3 of your life that you're gonna be miserable. Whatever it is that you decide to settle on as a career for the rest of your life, you better be passionate about it, okay? Because otherwise you're gonna be miserable and it's gonna contribute to unnecessary suffering in your life. Hey everyone, I'm Tatiana, and today's video has been highly requested. The advice that I would give to my 20-year-old self. So this video will be for you if you're in your 20s, maybe a little bit younger, in your teenage years. Even if you're in your early 30s, this could still help you. I'm 27, so I'm still in my 20s. But let me tell you, there is a world of a difference between your early 20s and your late 20s. I've learned a lot in this time. So I have put together 17 pieces of advice that I would give to my younger self. And keep in mind that, the contents of this video is just based on my life experience. It's just based on the way I think and my mindset. So you might not agree with everything. It might not suit you. So the idea is to listen to it. If you are intrigued, if you think it could serve you in your life, try it on, see how it feels. If it serves you, great. You can adopt it. If not, no worries, chuck it out the window. Okay, let's get started with number 1. Recognize the advantage you have. So I recall in my early 20s thinking of all the disadvantages I had being young. I'm too young, people don't take me seriously, I don't have life experience, I'm broke, I don't have money, I don't have resources, I don't have all these things. But you have to recognize the one advantage you have that is so valuable that money cannot buy it. And that's your age, it's your youth. It's the fact that you have decades ahead of you. You have a lifetime ahead of you. The world is your oyster and you can create whatever it is that you want. You can design your life. You can create a vision for your life and you can take action, because guess what? Because you have so much time ahead of you, you can afford to try things. You can afford to make mistakes. You can afford to start all over again. And a lot of people don't recognize this. And so you could waste your 20s by not recognizing that if you use your 20s wisely, you can have an unfair advantage over those who didn't. And so your 20s are really a valuable time, actually. This leads me to one of my next points, which is understanding that the decisions you make in your 20s are of paramount importance. Paramount importance. In your teenage years, you can get away with quite a bit. You could make a lot of mistakes, stupid decisions, and you kind of learn from them. But in your 20s, you're going to have to make some important decisions in your life, and those decisions will shape your life. They will shape the trajectory that you are going on. So it's really important that you weigh out the decisions, that you think about the decisions that you are going to make in your 20s, because it will influence where you're heading. And it will impact you for the rest of your life, oftentimes. So you have to understand that last night, and what actually inspired this video, not only was it highly requested, but last night I was watching a YouTube video of all of these seniors who were interviewed. They were like in their 90s, 80s, and they were interviewed about regrets that they had in life. And most of them said they don't have any regrets. But there's this one older man who did have a regret, and his regret was wishing that he did more. His regret was that he didn't tap into his fullest potential. He said that when he was young, he just fooled around. He just wanted to have fun. He just messed around and he didn't work towards creating anything substantial in his life. And so, in other words, he wasted a lot of his youth, his 20s, his 30s, the pivotal years of your life. And he has that as a regret. So, I was thinking about it, like, to be, a senior, maybe on your deathbed, and having that regret is really, it's such a burden, because it's the regret of never tapping into your fullest potential. It's the regret of knowing that I could have created more. I could have tried harder. I could have tapped into more of that potential, and I didn't. I chose not to. I chose to turn a blind eye. I chose to take the easy way out. I chose instant gratification instead of thinking about the long-term rewards. And I feel like that's a tough thing to kind of live with. So understand that your 20s are important, and you have to learn how to make the best decisions you're capable of making. And that means that you don't just make big decisions on a whim. You really try and weigh them out. I believe that any big decisions in your life that need to be made, you got to put them down on paper. Write it down on paper, pros, cons, look at them, and then you balance them and you determine, okay, how should I move forward with this? I feel like that's how all important decisions should be made. And I feel like a lot of people maybe don't do it that way. So that leads me to number 2. Because you're so young, and this of course applies to everyone, but it's particularly because you're so young, you need to create a vision for your life. A vision for your life. What do you want out of life? What does the life of your dreams look like? Is there a celebrity? Is there an influencer? Is there someone that you know personally that lives an incredible life that you wish that you could live? Well, guess what? You can create that. It doesn't matter what your background is. It doesn't matter your level of education. It doesn't matter what resources you have or do not have. You can create anything that you want to create in your life, especially because you're young, especially because you have time. You have time to learn. There's not anything in this world that you can't learn how to do. So saying I don't know how to do that is the biggest bullshit excuse I've ever heard in my life. You're young, you have time to learn, you can read books, you have access to the internet, like you can learn anything that there is that you want to learn how to do. You can afford to try things, trial and error. You can afford to make mistakes and restart again. So it is important that you create a vision for your life. In the Bible it says, without a vision ye shall perish. And it's important because if you don't have a vision, then you have nothing to work towards. And so your whole life will look like this. You're kind of bouncing from one end to the other. You don't really know where you're going. And when you have a vision, you now have a destination. You have a compass. You know where you want to head. And it doesn't mean you're not still going to bounce around. Life doesn't look like a straight line. You're not going to have a steady line towards hitting your vision. You're still going to have some ups and downs, some hiccups, some roadblocks, some detours in life, but at least you know where it is that you want to head, and it's going to help you to get there. So it is important to have a vision. It doesn't mean that your vision is going to remain constant. It's probably going to change over the years, because as you grow older, as you gain more life experience, your values tend to shift, and your values are what is going to help you determine what vision it is that you have for your life. I can tell you that my vision has shifted from early 20s to late 20s tremendously. So much so that I've changed the country that I want to live in, the state that I want to live in, like just everything has shifted, but that's okay. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't have a vision now. Everyone needs to have a vision in their life. And that is what's going to motivate you. It's what's going to give you the excitement, the juice to work towards something, because you know you have something greater that you can achieve. You have something in your mind that is so beautiful, so attractive, so compelling that you're willing to put in the work to get to work towards it. Decide, create a vision for yourself. I recommend writing it out. Maybe you want to create a vision board. That could be fun, because the power of the vision board is that you're going to be looking at it regularly, and when you look at it, it reminds you of that vision, and that gets programmed into your mind the more often that you look at it. But once you have a vision, then what do? Well, then you can ask yourself, what could I do to make that a reality? Because if I don't take any action towards it, it's always just going to be a dream, but I can actually turn it into a reality by creating an action plan. So you start with the vision and then you create the plan. So say, for example, my vision is that I just love surfing. I love surfing. I would love to live by the beach. If the beach could be my backyard, every morning I could go surfing. I could go to the beach on the weekends. I could go snorkeling. I'd love to live that aloha lifestyle in Hawaii and just live a laid back lifestyle. Okay, great. That's a beautiful vision and you can absolutely achieve that. Okay, don't let anyone tell you that you can't achieve things, because that's a big problem, I think, today, is that people aren't encouraged enough. Maybe friends and family don't encourage you, but I want to encourage you. You can dream big and you're capable of achieving your dreams if you are willing to work towards them and if you believe in yourself. If you don't have belief in yourself, you're not even going to try. So instill that within you, because you can't always get that support and belief from others. You have to give it to yourself. So if that is the vision that you have, you want to live there. Okay, so what kind of career, what could I do for a living? How could I make money so that I could create that lifestyle for myself? Because I mean, we all have to earn a living. So what could I do in order to make that a reality? So that leads me to number 4, which is to choose to do something that you're passionate about. All of us are going to spend 1/3 of our life working, okay? And if you hate your job, if you hate your career, that's 1/3 of your life that you're going to be miserable. So you want to make sure that whatever you choose to do for your career or to make a living, that it's something that you're passionate about. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to be passionate about every single job that you have. Most of us, especially if you're young, you're going to have like 10, 15 jobs, and they're all going to help you find what you're passionate about. And maybe those jobs are necessary in order for you to climb up the ladder and to get to where you want to be. You don't necessarily have to be passionate about those, but whatever you land on, whatever it is that you decide to settle on as a career for the rest of your life, you better be passionate about it, okay? Because otherwise you're going to be miserable and it's going to contribute to unnecessary suffering in your life. I also hold the belief that if you're passionate about something, you can be successful at it. So if, for example, this person who has the vision of surfing every day, if they're passionate about surfing, then why don't they become a surf instructor and they can teach people how to surf? And then every day they get to be out on the board, like doing what they're passionate about. And yeah, they might not make a fortune, but you have to decide, would I rather make millions and millions of dollars and be miserable, or actually live out my passion and enjoy what I'm doing every day? And you can have both. I'm not saying you can't have both. But, you know, as a surf instructor, of course, you aren't going to be making millions and millions of dollars every year, but that's a trade that you have to make a decision on. And a lot of people would rather choose to do something that they are, that fulfills them. Knowing that, you know, well, what is the money really going to buy you? You know, the money's not going to buy you fulfillment or happiness. That's something that you create. And if you're spending 1/3 of your time working, you know, that 1/3 of your time, at least you do something that you're passionate about. So this person can be surfing, can teach surf, can also open up a rental shop where they rent out surfboards. And I believe that if you're passionate about it, you can make it a success. You can make it, especially if you start your own business. So don't be afraid. You know, if you're passionate about makeup, you could become a very successful makeup artist. If you're passionate about gardening, you could be a successful gardener. Even though the average person who is in that field or that career doesn't earn much, if you bring passion to it, you can be one of the top earners, because that passion, it's a fire, and it's so rare to come by these days, because most people, they are in careers that they hate. So they do the bare minimum to get by. There's no excitement for the work. But if you bring that to what you're doing, then your customers will notice, your clients will notice, and you will soon become the best in your industry or in your city at what you do. And that's why it will be a success. Okay, so let's move on. Bring excellence to whatever you do. Success isn't something that you go out and chase. Success isn't something you go out to get. It is who you are. It is how you show up in the world. So Bring success to what you do. Bring excellence to what you do. I don't care if you are mopping floors as a janitor, if you are cleaning dishes at a restaurant. I don't care if you are a property manager, if you're working in an office, if you're a personal assistant. It doesn't matter what it is you're doing. Even if what you're doing is a temporary job, a temporary job that you don't want to pursue for the rest of your life, it's just a means to an end, that's fine. But bring excellence to what you're doing, because excellence gets noticed. You know, just like passion, excellence gets noticed. Most people are just doing bare minimum just to get by, just to get that paycheck, right? But if you show up at your work and if you're bagging groceries, but you're the best damn bagger there ever was, that gets noticed. It gets noticed by your employers, it gets noticed by the customers in the store, and it opens up the door to new opportunities, because excellence is rare and it's a quality that you either adopt or you don't adopt. And so I will tell you, as someone who has my own business and as someone who is always looking potentially to hire people, I've learned that the best hires are not people who apply for the position online, the applicants, because usually they're applying because they're out of work, okay? But I always keep an eye out for whenever I see someone that has a great personality, has a great personality, is doing a great job at what they are doing. And so a while ago, I was at a Whole Foods store, and there was someone who was bagging the groceries, but this person was just amazing, just brought so much amazing energy to the role. Even though they were just bagging groceries, they were like the best bagger I ever had. And I had given them my business card and said, hey, if I know like this is your work now, but if you ever would want to work online and work from home, I could open up a position for you, because employers know that you can train people on the skills, you can train them on how to do the work, but what you can't train is the personality. And if an employer sees someone who brings excellence to what they're doing, that is impressive, and you want that person on your team. So by that person bringing excellence to their job, to bagging groceries, guess what? It opened an opportunity for them to now work with someone who has an online business so that they can work from home and make way more money than they were originally making, and potentially, open up more opportunities in the future. So bring excellence to whatever you do. I think so many times we're like waiting for this incredible opportunity so that we can prove ourselves and then bring excellence to it so that we can then become successful, but you're not seeing the opportunities right in front of you. Whatever you're doing right now, whatever job you have right now, if you are a mom, a stay-at-home mom, and that's your full-time job, bring excellence to that. If you're working at a job, if you are, whatever it is that you're doing, an Uber driver, bring excellence to that, okay? Because you never know what that will lead to. Plus, you're gonna enjoy your job more when you're actually having a positive attitude about it and doing the best you possibly can. One thing I wanted to add on that I had forgotten to mention is understanding the short-term pleasure versus long-term rewards. So oftentimes in your 20s, you're doing things for instant gratification, but you have to understand what are the long-term repercussions of the decisions that I'm making. So understanding like short-term reward, long-term reward. Is there some sacrifices that I could make in the short term that would lead to better things in the future? Okay, so this applies. So for example, with myself, I made some sacrifices in my 20s where I didn't party pretty much at all, didn't really hang out with a ton of friends, even though I think socializing is very important. But I made certain sacrifices so that I could focus on establishing myself, building my career, and also prioritizing my relationship. And that has set me up for my future. I'm 27 now, and I don't have any financial struggles. I'm set up for the rest of my life based on the decisions that I made and the decisions I made to delay my instant gratification for the long term. Now, you don't always want to do this, especially when it comes to happiness. You never want to delay happiness. Choose happiness now. But there's many things that I could think of that you could put on the back burner and say, you know what, right now, this is not the priority. I'm going to make some sacrifices in my early 20s so I can set myself up for the rest of my life. So just think about that. It's a little side note. Number 6, start a business. Start a business when you're young. It might not be the path for everyone. Some want to go to university and to get a degree and to work, as a healthcare professional or a lawyer or something that does require formal education. But if you think at all that you might want to start a business of your own in the future, first of all, you don't need to go to business school for that. In fact, I think that using the time that you would spend at university studying business is better spent building a business of your own. There's no amount of textbook education that will be able to duplicate the results that you have when you actually start doing, when you actually build a business and make mistakes and see some success. So starting a business, I think, is very important to do in your 20s because, first of all, it's going to allow you to figure out, is business for me or not? Sometimes people think that, oh yeah, I would love to have the laptop lifestyle. Like pretty much everyone I meet that finds out what I do for a living, they are always interested in learning from me and how to build the laptop lifestyle. Pretty much everyone. Nobody has ever said that that would not be something that interests them because the lifestyle is attractive. But not everyone is suited to become an entrepreneur, okay? Because as an entrepreneur, you have to have a certain tolerance for uncertainty in your life. You're not getting a steady paycheck. You have to produce massive results. And there's a lot of other things to consider as well, but you don't always know that until you start a business of your own. So you can start it young, and that way if you figure out it's not for you, fine, that's fine. But the benefits of starting young is that you don't have, it's just easier to start. It's easier to get started because you don't really have anything to lose. If you've been in a career for the last 5-10 years, for example, you've been working at a bank and you are a wealth manager at a bank and you've been working there for the last 6 years and you've been considering starting an online business, well, it's a lot more challenging for you to take the plunge. It's a lot more challenging for you to take the risk of starting a business. It's more of a mindset thing because you've worked so hard to get to where you are. Maybe you're waiting on a promotion. You also have a lot of responsibilities when you've been in a career for a long period of time. And most likely, as you get older, you have a family. And so you also have the responsibility of feeding your kids, which is a burden. And it is a lot riskier to try something new, to start a business from scratch. So although it's possible and people do it all the time, it's way easier if you start early, when you have fewer responsibilities, when you haven't been in the same career for the last 10 years and that's all you know. I think it's also a mindset thing because I was speaking to someone who is a flight attendant and she's been a flight attendant for 10 years. And she was sharing, she's 41 and she started her online business at 41. And she was saying the hardest part of starting was just starting over. When you've been doing something for 10 years, every single day, that's all you know, that's what you've been doing every single day for 10 years. It's really scary, really intimidating to start over. So you have this advantage when you start young. I was very blessed to start at 20 years old my online business. Wouldn't change it for a thing. Number 7. Learn about money management and wealth creation. Did you know that most people in North America make over $1 million in their lifetime? $1 million. So it's not like making $1 million is impossible. Most people make it, but most people don't save it. Okay. So money management is important because if you don't know how to manage your money now, it doesn't matter how little you have. When you do acquire more money, then you won't know how to manage that. And you're most likely going to waste it, lose it. So learn how to do money management, read the books on it. I'll link some books in the description box for you that I would recommend, some basic books, and then you can go into some more intermediate books. But learning how to save your money is important. That's kind of the basics, which for a lot of people in their 20s don't know how to do. Like, okay, if you're living in your parents' basement and you're going out and you're buying $1,000 shoes because that makes you cool, then you've got to look at your priorities. And don't complain that it's so hard to be young these days. It's so expensive to pay rent when you're spending $1,000 on shoes. Or, you name your vice. Is it clothes? Is it designer stuff? Is it getting your nails done, getting your hair done, your lashes? Like all of these things, like listen, if you're just starting out, you got to be saving your money because that is going to pay dividends for your future. So saving money is one thing, learning about money management, do it. The next step is wealth creation. So there's a difference between the two because you can save $1 million and great, guess what? You're going to have $1 million. But you could learn how to save $1 million and then use that $1 million to make more money. Learn how to make your money work for you. So that $1 million can turn into 2 million, 3 million. And that's how you become wealthy. It's by learning how to create wealth by making the money work for you. And that comes in the form of investing. So investing stocks, investing real estate. There's many different kinds of investments. You would be surprised at how much is available out there. Many different ways of creating passive income once you do have money to make that money work for you. But so first step is money management. Next step is wealth creation. And you got to start learning this now. Don't wait until you have, $100,000 in your bank account to start learning this stuff. Start now. That's how you will get the money. Once you start learning this stuff, it becomes easier to make money magically. So I recommend that. So I actually mentioned it already. Number 8 was to not waste money on material things. As I said, it's tempting to spend money on those things, but it's not worth it. Like it's in one season, it's out the next. 5 years from now, it's just going to be sitting in your closet, whatever it is that you buy. Ultimately, like the material things, the Rolexes, the nice cars, if you're buying them, it's usually because it makes you feel significant in some way. So it's meeting a need of significance. But it's not going to bring happiness or fulfillment. Don't delude yourself into thinking that. I think sometimes a lot of people have to experience that and have to buy all these things only to later feel sadness or even depression because they realize that, wow, I'm still empty and I bought everything I could ever have wanted. So save yourself the money and the time and understand that, those material things aren't going to lead to anything lasting in your life. It's a fleeting moment of pleasure, but life is all about your relationships and your experiences. It's not about the latest watch or something like that, Number 9, read books on psychology and self-development. So I think this is fundamentally important. I think that everybody should have at least a basic understanding of how we work, how our minds work, our behavior, and also build their toolkit. A toolkit that when life hands a challenge to you, well, you've got a tool that's going to help you to now overcome that challenge. I think that this was really fundamental for me in achieving success, but also just the state of peace that I'm in right now in my life. Like I don't have things from the past that burden me, that keep me awake, that seep into new relationships that I form. I feel very liberated and very free. And that's because I've dealt with a lot of the shit that has been handed to me or that I've created in my life. And if you don't do the self-development, you don't necessarily know how to navigate that. It's very confusing. It's very challenging. It doesn't have to be because you can equip yourself. You can set yourself up for success. So I recommend you learn at least the basics of psychology and learn from the self-development books because when you can understand yourself and how you work, there's a sense of liberation that comes with that because then I'm not my thoughts. I know that, hey, this is a pattern that I have. You're able to develop awareness, and awareness is key. It's actually one of my other points. Awareness is key in developing. If you can develop awareness at a young age, that is going to help prevent a lot of unnecessary drama or challenges in your life. It really will, and it will help you increase your level of consciousness through awareness, seeing how you show up in the world. Yeah, self-development for sure. You want to make sure that you're equipping yourself with the right tools so that when there are challenges in life, you know how to address them. They don't have to burden you for the rest of your life. Because if you don't deal with the stuff that is currently plaguing you, it will continue to plague you forever, and it will cause more trauma, more challenges in the future. And so knowing how to handle life's challenges is going to serve you for the rest of your life. So make it a priority to read the books. And if you're not reading books, you got to start becoming a reader. Be particular about who you spend time with. So I want you to remember that who you spend time with is who you become. And that is because they will influence you, whether you are aware of it or not, for better or for worse. So if there are people in your life that, they're in your peer group just because they're part of the peer group or because you've been friends with them for so many years, but that, every time I hang out with this person, I don't feel good. Every time I hang out with this person, they make fun of me, or they hurt me, or they lead me to trouble. There's some people that if you hang out with a bad group of friends, it can get you into trouble that can cause issues for your future. Send you to jail, give you a criminal record. So that's an extreme example, but understanding that, if there's someone in your life right now who doesn't value you and your relationship, then you don't need to have them as part of your life. You don't need them in your life. Because I would say that it's better to have no friends than to have bad friends. You can always meet new friends, and I think that it's very important that you do. Friendships are very important. But if you have people in your life that are not, who are not supporting you, if you want something greater for yourself, if you want to create something, but your friends are bringing you down, they don't want the same thing, then you don't need to spend time with them, because they will hold you back from creating the future that you want to create. So be brave, and if you need to X someone out of your life, then that's fine. Do that. There's a way to do it politely and with love, and you can love them at a distance. You can send them your blessings, your prayers, your positive energy from a distance. Now, once you do decide who you want your group to be, the people that you do want in your life, then invest in those relationships, because relationships in life are everything. Human beings, we are here to connect. We crave connection, and a big part of what will bring you joy and fulfillment at the end of your life when you look back on life are the relationships that you had, and the memories that you create through those relationships. I mean, that's what the video I watched yesterday, the people said, what are some of the greatest things of your life? And a lot of them, family and friends, not the material things that you buy. Family and friends. So invest in those relationships, invest the time, be there to support them, create memories with them. That's something that you'll cherish for the rest of your life. Number 11, get clear on who you want to attract as a life partner, and then become the person that would be attractive for them. So this is a two-part thing. First, you have to get clarity on who it is that you want to attract into your life. And this is really important, I think most people just kind of blindly wait to meet someone and then decide to be with them, and that's fine, that works too. But, the way I see it, I think it's very important to get clear on who it is that you want to spend the rest of your life with. It's the most important decision that you're going to make. Unfortunately, I think it's 51% of marriages end in divorce. So, maybe doing what everyone does isn't always the best thing. I think it's important because, listen, I love love. I'm a love bug. And I think love is so important. There's nothing greater in my life than the love I have for Stefan, my partner. It's the biggest blessing in my life. But love isn't enough. Love isn't enough for a lasting, beautiful relationship. You also need to have an alignment. You both need to be aligned in your values. Now, that's not to say that every single value needs to be aligned. That's fine. It's only the most important things. So what is it in a partner that you would want? to attract. Because listen, if you meet someone, you fall in love. Falling in love is easy. You can fall in love with anyone. You would actually be surprised. But it's staying in love when there are challenges. And if you aren't aligned, it makes it a lot easier to break up. If two people love each other, but you have conflicting values, the most important values, that's going to be a problem. So for example, if one person wants to have kids and the other definitely does not, well, that's going to be a problem. You might think, oh, it's okay, we're going to work it out. No, it's not. If you know that the other person doesn't want to have kids and you do, that's going to be a challenge, because either you're going to have to make a sacrifice or they're going to have to make a sacrifice. One of you will. And if you feel like that other person now is taken away from you because you have to make a sacrifice, then you might develop some resentment. And resentment in a relationship is bad. Resentment in a relationship will stack, and it will cause a lot of pain in the relationship and can pull you apart. So you want to know what your values are and what would be the values in your ideal partner. The most important ones, right? You don't have to get picky into the tiniest little details. And if you're like an outdoor person, you love traveling, you love adventure, you love variety, but the person you're with, you love them, but they hate adventure. They don't like uncertainty. They like to stay in Netflix and chill every single day. Well, even though you have love, your values aren't aligned. And eventually that might lead to separation. And the longer that you wait for that to happen, the harder it becomes for you to meet someone else in your life. So if you've been with someone for 10 years, it becomes a lot harder to meet someone new, because you also have to think about the dating pool shrinks as you get older. Now, the second part of that is to become the person that person would be attracted to. So if you come up with your ideal woman or man, who do I have to become? Let me take responsibility here. Who do I have to become to be attractive for that person to want to be with me? And you're probably going to find out that there's a lot of things that you might have to work on, and it might take some time, but it's continuously trying to make progress towards becoming someone that would be attractive to your ideal mate. Number 12, don't settle in relationships, but date with the intention to settle down. So I think it's very important that you don't just settle with someone that you know that is not the best match for you, that you have that gut feeling where I don't think that this is right, but I'm going to stay in it because I'm comfortable, because I've been in the relationship for a long time, because they're paying half the bills. Don't do that, because again, the biggest decision you'll ever make in your life is who you choose to spend the rest of your life with. So please don't settle. But at the same time, I think it's important that in your 20s, you are dating with the intention to settle down, especially for women. We have more of a biological clock, and I know many friends who are in their late 30s, some of them in their late 40s, and they still don't have a life partner. And they are very challenged and conflicted with this because they want to have children. And, they're like, well, what do I do? Do I just pick anyone and just have kids with that person because my clock is ticking? What do I do in that situation? And so my warning is you don't want to end up in that situation. It's very stressful. All that's on your mind is finding a mate. Yes, it's important to date, and you should explore your options, but, have the intention of settling down so that you can actually meet someone who you would want to start a family with, because, you don't want to end up being maybe at an older age where, having kids is no longer an option. Even if kids is not something you're thinking about right now, you want to have that option as you get older, because in your early 20s, who you will be in your 30s and 40s might be a completely different person. You might have totally different values. So even if you say you don't want kids now, you want to leave that door open for in case you change your mind in your 30s or 40s. Number 13, travel. Experience the world. It is so important to get outside of your little bubble, because the world is so magnificent. It is God's greatest gift to us. He has created this incredible playground with so much variety, so much to explore, not only naturally with just the beauty of nature just the variety and the species and the trees and all of the amazing. I love the world. It's just so beautiful, but also people and cultures. And one of the best educations you can give yourself is going to happen through traveling. I'll tell you that. I've traveled a lot. I'm very grateful to have traveled, very grateful to have an online business that enabled me to travel. You know, when I was thinking about my life vision, it was at the time traveling. And I was like, okay, what do I need to do to be able to travel? Oh, well, having an online business will give me that flexibility. So traveling is such a blessing because you get to experience different cultures. You get to see things that you wouldn't otherwise see inside your little bubble. You will mature greatly when you see what other people are going through. You'll see other people your age, they don't have it so nice. You know, they don't get to grow up in what you thought you grew up in a bad neighborhood or didn't have much. You get to see what other people grew up and how things are for them. And it is extremely humbling. And also it helps you to understand other people. I think if you just are in your own little bubble, sometimes other cultures, they seem alien and it's easy to say what's right and what's wrong. But when you actually go and meet people and you see how they live very differently, but we are all people and we're just trying to do the best that we can. And you start to see how the walls dissolve and how we're all connected and we're all on this one place called home, which is Earth. And you get to just develop a sense of understanding that's beyond your current reality because you get to explore so much. So travel when you can, make it happen, explore. You don't have to spend a fortune to travel. There are ways to do it cheap. There are people who go backpacking. So enjoy that while you're young and free of responsibilities. Number 14, don't follow too many people on social media. I never really was a big follower of anyone. Like I never had any celebrity crushes. Didn't really follow many people on social media. And even now, you know, I don't really follow any people. The people I follow are more like the old school educators, Tony Robbins, T. Harv Eker, those types of guys. But I think it is important to be aware of that. I think that if you follow so many people, you hear so many different thoughts, different ways of thinking, that you start to lose yourself. You start to lose your own thoughts and you start to kind of adopt too many mixes of different people, and it becomes hard to create your own identity. And sometimes you lose trust in yourself, thinking that you need to ask people for their opinions all the time instead of having the confidence to ask yourself. I also think that social media is very artificial. We're not wired for it yet. It's very new. And I think that it plays a huge role in the mental health challenges that we see are continuing to rise in our society. I think when you're on your phone all the time and connected all the time and seeing other people, how they live, and, you know, feeling jealousy or wanting more, it's just not natural. And I think it leads to a lot more issues when it comes to mental health. So real life happens outside and enjoying, you know, real people and not just online. So I would encourage you to do whatever opportunity you can to just disconnect and, you know, meet with someone face to face. Put your phone away. If you're going for dinner, don't take out your phone and start scrolling. Like, that's not only rude, but you're missing out on the opportunity to experience real connection. This virtual connection on social media, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Real connection happens in person. So be wary of just following so many people on social media. I think that it can lead to more negative than positive unless you're very particular about who you choose to follow and very strategic about it. Number 15, solve your own challenges before you try to solve the challenges of the world. I think a lot of young people are trying to take on the problems of the world and trying to bring attention to them and fix them. And I think that there's nothing wrong with that. It's great. We do need to focus on the problems that are in the world. The intention is usually pure. But I think it is important to first take a mirror and look at yourself. What is it that you could work on? How could you show up better in the world? Otherwise, if you're, going and trying to face the world's challenges, it's an easy way to distract yourself from what's going on at home. It can be fun and exciting to go and protest on the streets. Meanwhile, at home, you have so many challenges with your family life, with your parents, and you're not willing to work on those. You're having a greater mission that you want to put your time and attention and energy on, and you got to work on what's going on with you first. You've got to solve your own challenges. It can be hypocritical if you don't. So while I don't think that there's anything wrong with looking at the challenges of the world and trying to figure out ways that we can resolve them, I think it's necessary. We do need to do that. But if you're not first looking at yourself and seeing how you could clean up your mess, then it can be hypocritical. And it's hard to do that. I get it. It's hard to look at yourself. It's easier to find the flaws in everyone else. It's natural. It's human instinct. But you have to be willing to look at yourself. And with that, when you try and work on yourself and you do resolve things and you do overcome your challenges, you're going to gain experience from that. And you can better resolve the world's challenges because you've actually have a track record now of looking at a challenge and resolving it, rather than just being able to point things out. It's easy to point things out. It's easy to point things out with the problems of the world and institutions and all of that. But what's your action plan? Number 16, develop awareness. I'm not going to go too much into this because I already touched on it, but awareness is key because awareness always precedes change. It comes before change. So if there's anything in your life that you want to change, you first need to have a level of awareness around that issue. So awareness is key, and with awareness, you're going to be able to look at yourself. You're going to be able to see yourself and how you show up. You're going to be able to see patterns that you have in your life that play out. You're going to be able to identify things with how you communicate with people, how you relate to people. It's actually so important. So important. It's going to help you navigate through life a lot more smoothly when you can understand yourself and you can notice yourself. Number 17, and the last one, it's to give back. Give back. Doesn't matter how much money you have. It's not about that. It's about the intention. It's about the action. It's about deciding that, hey, I want to be a giver in my life. I don't just want to take. I don't just want to receive. I want to give. And right now, maybe I don't have the money to give, which, by the way, I think we all do. It doesn't matter how much. It's the act. So 10 cents out of $1, great, give it. It's not like you have to be a multimillionaire before you give, because if you wait until then to give, you won't be giving. Okay, it's building a habit of being a giver. So it doesn't matter how little money you have. There's always room for you to give. But even if you say, okay, financially it's not my time to contribute, but I can give my time, and sometimes time is much more valuable than money. I can go and volunteer. I can go and build a school or a house, or volunteer at the shelter in my own community. I can work with seniors or disabled kids. You can create some sort of, you can be part of some sort of volunteer program where you can give back. And that's going to be so fulfilling for you. It's one of the most rewarding things to be a giver. It's usually not the person on the receiving end that gets the greatest gift. It's the gift giver that gets the greatest gift of giving that gift, of watching how they receive it, of watching the joy that comes from giving that gift. So be a giver. If you can go on volunteer trips, I highly recommend it, especially when you're young. I went and Stefan and I, we built schools, we built houses, we've done trips like that. Fantastic, amazing. You're going to learn so much from that. It's going to open your heart in so many ways. You also get to connect and meet with incredible people. If you're struggling to make friends, people who are aligned in values with you, then go on a volunteer trip. You're going to meet the greatest people ever. They're going to be, they're like you. They want to give just the way you do, and you get to meet just really special sweethearts. So doing that, and then give in any way that you can. If you can think of another way, maybe it's mentoring people. Maybe it is, cleaning up. There's this one woman, every day I go on a walk. She inspired me. You know, and by being a giver, you can inspire people too. She inspires me because every day I see her going on a walk. She has this bag with her, she's wearing gloves, and she picks up trash. So she goes for her exercise, but she's picking up trash while she's doing it. You know, that's her way of giving back to the environment, to the community. So give back. Okay, guys, hell of a long video. Hopefully it was helpful for you guys. Let me know in the comment box which of these 17 pieces of advice resonated with you most. Which ones will you adopt? Which ones will you try on? And then come back to the video and let me know how it goes. You know, have you seen any results from any changes in your life from adopting these mindsets? Let me know in the comment box. And of course, if you have questions, I'd like to help answer those as well. I'm pretty active usually when the video gets first published, and I try and come back to answer questions later on as well. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and make sure you subscribe if you haven't yet. Hit the bell notification so you don't miss a video of mine, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.